guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys Movie Masterpiece diecast series of the War Machine from Iron Man 2. If you're familiar with previous diecast figures from Hot Toys, the packaging that you have here is exactly like those previous ones. You have a really cool image of War Machine there in the back that's kind of like a outline. On the back of the package, you got the various cast and crew responsible for making it. Then, as I said, if you're familiar with those previous diecast figures, the top section just slides up just like so, revealing the inside, which is very heavy-duty foam. You can see it says War Machine across the front. Then as you remove that front foam piece, on the inside you can see the figure as well as all of his accessories. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the diecast version of the War Machine from Iron Man 2 opened up and out of his packaging. And first up, this is actually the second version of the War Machine from Iron Man 2 that we've gotten. The initial release, which came out many years ago, was just made out of plastic. And with Hot Toys revisiting and even doing new figures in diecast, it was only a matter of time before they went back and revisited one of the best-selling figures in their history. Now, taking a look at all the stuff that you get in the package, as with all Hot Toy figures, you do get the instruction guide, which I absolutely recommend going through. There's a lot that's different on this that you really want to make sure that you go through and really familiarize yourself with. That way you know exactly what this figure can do and can't do. Now, coming in to take a closer look at his accessories, in addition to the two closed fists that are currently on the figure, he also does come with a right and left hand with the articulated fingers that allow you to pull off some really cool poses. You also have the clear centerpiece here in the palm for his repulsor, which through the ball joint section you can see the clear section, allowing the light to kind of pass through and illuminate that. You also do get a right and left repulsor blast hand that, unlike the articulated one, actually has the wrist bent on an angle so that when you position this on the ball section, you have the repulsor facing forward, for those blasting kind of effects. You also do get a right hand in a saluting kind of pose, which is absolutely perfect for War Machine or the Iron Patriot. I know a lot of people that love displaying their War Machine with this kind of salute going on, so that's nice. You also do get a ton of battle damage parts, which is something, again, that first version of War Machine did not have. We'll touch on all those here in a little bit as I attach them to the figure. But as I mentioned, he does have light-up features, specifically in his repulsors, his arc reactor, as well as his eyes. You get all the batteries as well as the screwdriver to easily put those in. You also do get his giant shoulder-mounted cannon here, which I've already attached to it, which looks absolutely terrific. I'm going to, let's see if I can get that off. Taking a closer look at the detail for that, you got a really cool Gatling gun sort of thing right here. You got some really nice silver paint throughout the entire piece with some extra dirt and everything kind of thrown in here. This does have an articulation point right here. You can swivel it. It can also attach onto the back section so it can rotate. So you can spin that around. In terms of other, it also rotates here. So you do get a decent amount of articulation with this. It's not a ton. I kind of wish that it could hinge up a little bit, but there's none of that kind of mechanism in here or anything. Great detail though on the inside there. I mean, those gears look really very, very cool. Oh, also this little section here does spin around. Now for this, you can also replace this barrel section. If you remember in the movie, when War Machine and Iron Man started fighting that Whiplash threw his whips and it severed this off, so this part can detach, and then you get this section. Oh, I'm throwing it all over the place. You get this little piece that can just peg in right there, giving you that severed kind of look where it's like his whips kind of came through. This is a actual softer rubber material, but you can see real great detail in here in terms of making it kind of look like it's melted and ripped off. I mean, that's really cool. Very simple, but definitely a very scene-specific accessory. And then, like I said, you got the little peg right here that you just stick inside this section right there, resulting in now him having the battle damage Gatling gun on his actual shoulder, which looks terrific. Out of the package, he also does have these little pieces right here, which are not attached, but do need to attach. And one thing that's actually cool is they just tab in here along the actual sides of his legs by magnets. So you can just put that in, completing that look, and then again, doing it on the inside here, putting that there, lining that up properly, just like so. taking this guy, and you can see you got little thrusters here in the back. You just bring that around, and again, lock that in there. Just overall completes the look for his legs, but then also you can remove them and create a little bit more of a, you know, battle damage kind of look for him, which is really cool. I do wish that they gave you extra ones like this in a battle damage sort of scheme where they're all scratched up and stuff, but I think that's actually pretty cool. Just gives you an extra layer to the detail that's on the figure, and that's really very, very nice. Now, for his Gatling gun, you also do get this rubberized piece that houses like bullets or something like that. You can see a nice silver paint. What you do for this is you come around here, you got this little section right there that then you just slot that in just like so, and then you have this section right on the actual Gatling gun. You bring this up and then again peg that in to that little slot area. Well, maybe it goes like that. Getting that in there just like so, and then you have the bullets on the back here, which look great. Something that future, you know, War Machine figures kind of got away from actually having. That gives it a fairly cool militarized look, which I really do appreciate and dig. So it also does come with a battle damaged helmet itself. You can see a lot of scratches and everything. Great detail on this entire thing. I mean, I love the scratches and everything like that. You do got a little bit of that extra kind of dirt thrown throughout there. Now these actually light up. You take off the mask and you got the eye section right there. You lift this piece up just like so. You got the switch, that very bright light, and then put that back down, and now you have his eyes, which really very bright, like I was saying. I mean, that looks really very cool. That red bleeds through very, very nicely. But to save the batteries, obviously. Then in addition to this, you also do get the regular portrait, which, taking this off, this has the Don Cheadle head that's actually put in there. Just get this out there. You also have the little section here that hinges down a little bit, but great sculpt on that. And that's a terrific looking portrait and absolutely looks like Don Cheadle. Great detail all the way throughout. And then, like I said, you can hinge that piece up. You got this plate that just then magnetizes right there. You can also put it up there, but it kind of sits on a weird angle, so it's kind of like flopping around because the magnet is just there. Now, if you wanted to, you can take the battle damage faceplate and you can also put that on there. That also works. It also stays up at the top section as well. So if that's how you wanted to display your War Machine, you definitely could do that. So these masks are interchangeable. You got great detail on the inside of both of them, showing the kind of a speaker down there, some extra paneling and everything like that. You can see that in terms of the battle damage on the rest, there really isn't too much. It looks like it's basically identical. The biggest difference comes in the different faceplates, whereas this has a very, very subtle scratching kind of throughout it. This one here is massive. Then the name of the game for this guy is the battle damage parts. You get several of them. Most of them here are along the side of it. You can take this piece off. You can then detach this. This is attached via a ball joint, so just pull that off. You get an extra shoulder section right here, which taking a look at the difference here, you see that little scratch that kind of goes throughout there, whereas this one doesn't really have it. Not a heck of a lot of difference, to be totally honest here. You just have that small scratch kind of going throughout there, but you just take that, then bring that, line that ball joint up, which can be tough to do because all of this is on a hinge. So I'm going to put that like that and push that down and try getting it to lock into place. It's a little bit tricky to do on this just because you don't have a lot of space, but there you go. So you have that little battle damage piece right there. Then coming to the inside of his left arm here, this little panel here will detach and remove, and then you have this one as a replacement. And again, taking a look at the difference here, again, basically the exact same. You just have that big giant gouge kind of going through there. So putting that right there, it all just tabs in very, very easily. You come around here to the back, getting this out of the way because this will kind of hinder some of the looks. This little piece right here, you need to lift this, get that kind of out of the way. This is the battery compartment right in here. Now, this is a little bit tricky to do. You have to actually unscrew this because, like I said, the battery compartment actually goes inside there, but there's the screw right there, and then you can replace it with this piece, which I'm not going to bother doing because then I got to pull out the screwdriver. So you do have that as a battle damage section. Now, you also do get little thrusters back here. These are a little bit tricky to get to as well. These little thrusters can actually extend up up, and this is kind of how he flies around some. Very powerful, this guy is. So you do have those little thrusters that pop out. You also do have replacement pieces here for it. So first you have to take this, and it tells you to like push down on it, and then you can pull this out just like that. And you get a replacement section for both of these. You got little magnetic pieces in here, and then when you're done, you have both of these sections with battle damage with some great detail. And again, you just collapse those back in to kind of hide those little thrusters. And then you also do have this section right here, which I'm going to have to lift this up and kind of spoil the surprise for you. But this piece lifts up, and then this detaches just like so. Hopefully you can see that. And then you have a replacement section right here, which again just has the little gouge on there. So you just then take this, put this on top, and now you have that with the battle damage, and his face is falling over, but you got that section right there. He also can have a battle damage chest piece added to him, which is really cool. You have, this is the battle damage section, and this is the clean section. This is a little bit tricky to get out as well. You want to come around here to the side, kind of pull from this little groove area right there, and then pull it away, exposing a lot of really nice detail here on the inside. You got the arc reactor, which looks great. Then you take this, line that up, push that in, lock that into place, and absolutely gorgeous looking. So here you have the fully battle damaged look for War Machine, and while it's not as extensive in terms of battle damage as, you know, how he looked in the film, it still looks really very cool. It definitely really completes the look for him. Now, one other small accessory that I did forget, and it's just been sitting here, is he does come with the ex-wife, Hammertech's bunker busting buster missile thing that basically failed considerably. But you have that, which can actually go into the missile launcher, and I'll show that here in a little bit. And his final accessory is this really cool diorama display stand. You get the metal pillar right here with the little crotch support. You have a destroyed looking hammer drone, maybe, I think maybe the army version of the hammer drone. You got some extra bits kind of thrown throughout there. And then great detail on the rock section. As you remember, this was along a little riverbed kind of sort of thing. And the detail on the rock is really very, very nice. You got a very nice gloss to it, which gives it kind of a wet look. But you also have some really subtle paint detail actually put in there, giving the rocks a little bit more kind of life, I guess. It looks really very good. Got some nice paint here for the grass section. You got some rocks and everything right up there, some dirt and everything. Overall, really very nice piece. Again, anytime that we get something like this, I do wish that we would get smaller ones as well, but I really do like this. It does take up a little bit more space, but it really does display very nicely. Now, coming in to take a closer look at the figure, this guy absolutely turned out terrific. Much like all Iron Man figures, there's an amazing amount of detail that's put into this War Machine. And while I unfortunately never got that first version, I do know that there is a lot that is different between this and that original. While utilizing obviously the same look, Hot Toys really refined it. That original one came out, I believe, in 2010, so 6 years ago, almost 7, is a considerable amount of time when it comes to Hot Toy technology. The biggest thing with this is they put it in die-cast, which does allow a lot more versatility with things like the joints. But also you're seeing a huge improvement here in the overall detail. Obviously the battle damage chest piece is a little bit different than the regular one, but just look at the bullet holes in there. I mean, great detail. You can feel the ripples in the actual sculpting itself. Really very amazing. Again, you got that really cool face. You got, of course, the battle damage on here. One thing that I will say is that while the printed on details are a little bit better, especially here and here in terms of accuracy, there is one that is noticeably missing, and that's right here. There should be like an Air Force logo. For some reason, Hot Toys doesn't have it on here, which I do think is a little bit unfortunate. It should basically be something like this that's put on the upper part of the shoulders. But it's not there. But great detail looking throughout this entire thing. You move this down, you can see some great detail in the little joint section right there. Great detail with the arms and the different panels, all the different paint variations and the parts that aren't battle damaged come around here to the back. Again, great detail here. As I showed you, these sections can lift up, revealing the little thrusters that are underneath there. You also do have these little sections which were present in the original one, but now they can actually rotate around and kind of hide when not being used. So that's cool that you got these little thrusters that are there. I dig that. That's a neat little additional touch. Great detail here with the arm cannons. They can flex down. This is where the switch is for the light up feature, but great detail with that bit of armament, closing these little sections back up. Again, really nice paint variation through the back section. Come down here to the legs again. Great detail with the wear and tear on the thighs. Coming all the way down to the lower section of the legs, including the knees with that great panel detail. You got these little sections here that can remove, revealing some nice detail on the inner section. You got this little back flap that can actually hinge open. You got more thrusters kind of underneath here. Great gold paint on the little accents throughout here. Also down here with the feet. You can close that. I like how you also see like the little hinge section here move as you bring that back down. Great detail with the feet though, as you can see you got that same amount of detail with the gold trim. So overall, really amazing detail thrown throughout here that really you're only going to get in something that, you know, is kind of modern day from Hot Toys. I mean, you look at the detail that the original one had, and that detail was amazing, but you just really get a real appreciation for the refinement of their craft when you look at something like this, which really does update that original figure. As I mentioned, he does have those light up features. You could see light up eyes. You come around here to the back section, and then right here below the little armature, you got the little switch for his arc reactor. You just flip that. That lights up very bright, very nice. Turning that off so that we don't waste the batteries. You also do have that, let me see, get this out of the way. The fisted hands do not have the clear section here for the repulsor, so if you want to see that, you really do have to use one of the other hands. So putting that repulsor blast in there so we can actually take a look at that light up feature itself. Get that in there. You got the little hand, and then you just come around here, you flip this section down, you got the little switch right here, and blam, you turn that on. Kind of have to angle it where you get a little bit more of that light kind of coming through, which again, it's fairly standard with, you know, these Iron Man type figures that have that. But I mean, he's massive. I mean, like I said, he's made out of die cast, so a lot of these pieces, some of the torso might have it. I'm trying to, I don't really feel a lot. I kind of feel it in the cold, and I don't feel a lot of that up here in the arm. This section up here, I think this is all die cast on his bicep area. The rest of the torso, I don't feel too much. The thighs here, this is die cast, however, and then the lower portion of the leg also die cast, as well as I think parts in the actual feet. So really heavy, and you can see just massive figure. Now for comparison, unfortunately, I don't have that original version of the Mark I War Machine. But here he is next to the Mark II version of War Machine from the Avengers Age of Ultron. And you can see just how much more massive the original one was. They really did kind of scale him down and make him a much slimmer, more streamlined kind of looking character. I don't mind it all that much, but I really do like the way that this guy looks. I mean, everything on him, from the way that his arms are to the chest, to the way that the bulk for the legs is. I mean, it's just, like I said, a very streamlined and thinner kind of representation of the War Machine. You can see like here in the chest, just really massive. And then obviously his shoulder cannon now has gone from being a Gatling gun to basically like this laser turret. I like both a lot, don't get me wrong. I just have this affinity to always have the most recent look for the character in my display. And as awesome and massive as this just is a little bit more accurate to how he looks nowadays. For some of his other added features here, getting the arms kind of out of the way, you got these little sections right here which actually do extend, which is really cool. To get that to lift, all you do is you lower this. It's on a little spring, and then you take your little fingernail, wedge that in there, You lift this up, it hinges, and then rotates out. Get that out of the way. And you have the little missile pods on the inside here, which I absolutely love that. And again, real nice detail on the inside, but incorporating it like that really is very cool. Great and a silver paint here, giving it a very metal kind of look. Tucking that back in, that locks into place. This side here has the very famous ex-wife. So you just lift this up, this hinges, and there you have the actual missile pod, or I'm sorry, missile launcher for the ex-wife itself, which you can take and actually put right in there just like that. Now, if you push it all the way in, it's gonna kind of get stuck in there. You have to then move it not like that to get it to come out, but it can actually sit in there nicely if you wanted to. And for storage purposes, you could probably leave it in there, and then you can collapse it all the way in. Well, you'd have to push it all the way in to get it to stay in there, but you can definitely leave it in there if you so desired. You just would have to be careful that it would, you know, slide forward. So bringing that back up, really cool how they got the ex-wife incorporated in this suit. And like I said, you can bring that out and then maybe have a little display like that. Now, obviously Don Cheadle's face here fell off, so put that right back on there. So great detail with that. Again, really nice silver paint on here, kind of giving it a very metal kind of look, tucking that back down like so. While you have this on here, you also do have the little sliding mechanism, so you can position this how you want. So articulation wise, that does add to it, even though I just knocked this whole thing right out of the little cannon. The rest of his articulation, the head is on a very flexible joint, so you can get a very good upward pose with it. You can move it down. You do got a lower neck joint that can rotate, but very, very minimally. It doesn't get much. It gets a very small range of motion there, up and down fairly nicely. And that actually looks really far down, which really does kind of impress me. So hinging that back. The shoulders here, they do have a little armpit joint that allows you to extend them out like so. This whole section right here does move. It has a little ball joint there, so you can kind of position this, kind of lifting that up and getting that position where it looks pretty cool in an action sort of pose, but then you do have to bring it back. He does have a rotation at the upper part of the bicep. He's got two joints here at the elbow for a little bit more than 90-degree rotation. You can see you got one hinge right here, and then you have another one right above that. Coming down to the actual hands, you got a little flap right here that can move up. It's a little bit easier on this one because this is already pushed back because of the hand, but you got that little flap right here, which does come in handy for the repulsor blast hand as you're going to want to lift it up. That is on a ball joint, so you can just rotate that around as you see fit. The waist right here can extend up a little. You can see very minimal. As it is, when it's down like that, you get a nice range of motion, kind of moves forward and back. This section here does flex up a little for some ab crunching, but then extending it up more, you get a much further range of motion. So you get a pretty decent crunch there, moves back very nicely, and then you do get the rotation. The hips here are on very heavy duty ratchet joints. They move forward. This little section here does hinge out a little to give a little bit more of a range of motion for the actual thighs to about right there, and then you can move them back. But then you can also detach them. They're on very heavy ratchet joints on the inside, so you can then extend the legs down a lot further, getting them to flex out more, move forward a little bit further, so like you have that, and you can see it does increase the range of motion a little, not a heck of a lot, but it does give a little bit more, which that little bit does come in handy a lot, angling that back up. Like I said, really heavy duty ratchet joints there, which is nice, very secure. And because this is a very heavy die cast figure, those heavy ratchet joints really do add to the stability of the figure. He also does rotate at the upper part of the thigh. He has two joints here at the knee. You got one and then another one right there. As you can see before, you got this little section that hinges. I would be careful with this because this is fairly thin and it's made out of plastic, so you do want to be careful with that. Coming all the way down here to the ankles, you got some pivot side to side. They move forward, they move back. This little piece here flexes forward to get out of the way for a little bit more forward motion. You got little toes. So lots of articulation. A lot of parts that are in here are facilitated by the die cast kind of design that we've seen in a lot of other Iron Man figures, such as, you know, the hip section and things of that nature. So great level of articulation for some really awesome poses on this. Overall though, an absolutely huge improvement over the previously released War Machine from Iron Man 2, both in terms of looks, design, as well as accessories. As I said, a lot of War Machine fans really do like the more bulky, massive look that this version had, and that first version was highly sought after because of that. So it is absolutely awesome that Hot Toys has revisited this and really did improve upon something that was already really good. Adding the element of diecast to it also really does help the overall feel for this figure. As a huge Iron Man collector, it's oftentimes really difficult for me to go back and feel plastic Iron Man figures after handling diecast ones. But some truly iconic characters such as the War Machine here really do benefit from that diecast treatment. And I can see why they save that diecast treatment for characters such as this, ones that have a little bit more of an iconic nature. This guy turned out great. So if he's a figure that you'd be interested in adding to your collection, he is available right now at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can check out availability on this guy as well as the rest of the Hot Toys 1/6 scale figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please like and share it. It goes a long way towards helping me out. Also, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new video, and you never miss out on a future review of mine. And as always, until next time, I'll talk to you later.